Ebusia in Komo Ewo Channel so ha AGH Politics Avenue. Podcast was a training because making headlines. The Jembre na UDB Exomo. Be shock say yonko a highway sinim a jedama unia enye asampo to Accra. Na unia a ye pious ajide. Chese ne hu achre no a unia enye asampo to Accra. Na nyina ne se eye NDC MP or sign eye communication member ede ma eye NDC amayukono nunia enye asem goto akra Pius ekobi na no eka say His Excellency John Dramani Mahama ni big push agenda no so sourcing na ewo mu no yeketa se any project na onia senior NDC member no itibi a train position no onia enye asem goto akra chance you how dare you talk about corruption we na kita se share any project na so ye mo enewo onua yembo nwuram abra wo tinte su kokogo nu so a enya asempoto akra yembo engura inseminum hye so am say aha AGH Politics Avenue yembo engura inseminum
government. They are not resourcing the assemblies. Everyone, including former district chief executives under your government, will mock you when they listen to you. Number two, Roland, do we want to have a conversation on corruption? Yes, I am ready with my chest out to have that conversation.
Absolutely.
But certainly, if you want to have a conversation on corruption, and for anyone to preach anti-corruption and good governance, it's certainly not pious. Not pious. Pious Hajide, my in-law, from Apipe. We know your records in government. We know what you are capable of doing and what you have done in government. So you cannot say because government has given sole source contracts that amounts to corruption and even claiming. And in a very ridiculous manner, you calculate the amount of contracts, the total amount of contracts given on sole source and assume. Now, is it saying that, for example, Roland, I want us, we are not deviating, I'm responding. Roland, is Pius saying that, for example, if government gives out the road from Apipe to Chinu on sole source basis, for let's say 100 million Ghana cedis. That amounts to, it means that all the 100 million could have been used to buy buses or to buy pick-ups for people at the assembly. Doesn't mean if the contract goes to competitive bidding, it means that no money will be used. How do you even make that fundamental calculation?
I cannot.
It's ridiculous. Number two, you Pius, on the issue of corruption. On the issue of corruption, Pius, you.
Yes.
I can tell you that you are an example. Yes. You are a locus classical. You are an example of somebody who does not deserve to talk about corruption because you yourself, your records are there. You are not clean. And I can quote members of your party. In fact, when you were appointed by Brian Achampon, I've heard members of your party, members of Dr. Baumier's camp, members of Ěxpǒsěs camp who said that for somebody like you, with no integrity, with no clean record in government, how were you clear? No, Pius says that corruption issues must not be treated and then be left without conclusion. What was the conclusion on your matter? When Akufo-Addo cleared you, what report did he use to clear you? Your minister accused you of engaging in visa racketeering. Till today, your minister said so. I am not a CMA. It's not his minister. I did not say Pius engaged in visa racketeering. Your minister says you engage in visa racketeering. So when Akufo-Addo was clearing you, which report did Akufo-Addo use to clear you? Your minister says so. I am not saying so. You are my in-law. I'm actually married to your sister. I'm saying that that is not the issue. I am saying that it is his minister that says so. Your minister says you are corrupt. For which reason you were asked out of the sports ministry. For you to sit on TV and suggest that because Honorable Agboja had given out sole source contract and even said, listen to his statement, that President Mohammed's silence could mean that he is complicit. How dare you? You a corrupt fellow? You that with such records at the ministry? You sit on TV and make these allegations and expect to go scot-free. Roland, let it be on record. Yes, I will let you respond. Let it be on record. Let it be on record. That even if we are having a conversation on corruption and anti-corruption, you Pius. I mean, if we want to be serious, as you suggested, no political party that is serious will send you to represent them to speak on corruption.
Oh,
can we deal with the matters? Roland,
when it comes to
I understand that. You are not the host.
Please.
Roland,
NPP NDC talk show, and we won't allow this. That's the host. We came prepared. You have to have discussion. But you are allowing them to turn this into an NPP NDC talk show. It's already 8:30. Why? I think I'm trying to
all right,
Roland, please do something.
I beg you.
This is not an NPP.
I beg you, Roland. It is only fair. When I made my
NPP, I won't allow this to be turned into an NPP NDC talk show. That's exactly what you are doing.
It's okay.
That's exactly what you are doing.
Ceasefire, gentlemen, ceasefire.
Roland, I do not drive all the way here to come and listen to NPP NDC talk show.
It's not NPP.
But it's 8:30 and you have turned this into an NPP NDC talk show.
Can I have just 1 second?
No, but you can't have it.
It's okay.
There's a host. But I'm asking you.
Please allow me as a host.
So please take in charge.
Two topics up for discussion.
Please take charge.
The disaster or the collapse of the building has happened, and so we discussed.
Okay, so let me take the second one.
And then the second one was going to be about the 7-year bond that was going to be issued by the finance ministry of government domestically. All right.
Roland,
and so
I'll use my time.
What we sought to ask was that, are we ready for the bond market even domestically as it is? And so Pius made a submission, and that's why we had the recourse of a rebuttal from Edem Agbana. And
but I have a right of response because
it's not an NPP talk show. Please, if it's an NPP talk show, then don't bring us.
Okay.
We came as early as 6 something, and we want to turn this into an NPP talk show.
So you know what? I'm going round robin. Edem has had his stand, so I'll come to you.
You can't turn this into an NPP talk show.
Now, how do we make sure?
Roland.
How do we make sure?
No. We can take this thing. When in a debate, I made my substantive.
It's not a debate between you and Edem Agbana. This is a discussion, a panel discussion. You want to turn this into an NPP talk show?
The man made references to me.
No, it's not about you.
Okay,
and it's not about him. But why do you bring me here and allow NPP and this talk show?
It's okay. Please.
Listen, let's exercise some respect
and again, when Pius was making the submission, I did say that he was veering off the subject matter for which we came here to discuss. And I even asked him how the subject matter of the roads ministry was even linked to a disaster that has happened in Tema Newtown, for which we have at least 3 fatalities or deaths recorded.
Are you suggesting that I should have said what you wanted me to say?
No. So that's why Edem rebutted. You have your time for it. So let me go, then I'll come to you.
You see, what is happening this morning is a clear example of why Ghana is where we are. We've allowed 2 parties who clearly do not have a strategy to take us out of this economic quagmire. And every issue we reduce it into an NPP NDC.
What is the time?
Listen.
We'll close at
for about 17 years.
And we need to deal with it.
For about 17 times.
Over 3,000 people are watching us. So let's be deferous.
For about 17 times, we go to the IMF. We get stability. And then when we've had stability, what do we do with the stability? We go back to the market, we borrow, and what do we use the borrowing for? We come and consume. And we saw a clear example of this in 2017. Prior to 2017, we went on the campaign, NPP. At that time, I was a member of the NPP. We all went on campaign, and our key message was that we ought to change the structure of our economy. Now, unless and until we change the structure of our economy, then the political independence we acquired in 1957 is going to lead us to doom. That was our message. And see, when we were campaigning, we were at the IMF. Now, we came out of the IMF 2018. Between 2017, when NPP took power, and 2024, when they left power, the record shows that NPP took 11 billion bonds from the Eurobond, and took about, as in being very charitable, almost $60 billion from the domestic bond market. Now, the question is, what did we do with that money? Because to answer that question, you understand, would place this current government in the better position to fulfill their reset promise. That 11 billion, and what do we do? One, we use it to fund budget, so as in pay salaries, grant money for operations, the ministries and agencies. And we use it to refinance debt. We use it to refinance debt. You understand? And essentially, we failed to use those monies to transform our economy from an economy that does not produce, from an economy that cannot create jobs. You understand? We failed to do that. In fact,
the reasons were that we had COVID, Ukraine, and Russia.
And we started borrowing, so we borrowed 11 billion plus 60 billion on the minimum. Join the two together. You understand? Before the Russian-Ukraine war, we had the opportunity to fund productive sectors of the economy. How much money do we spend in the 10-point industrialization agenda, which was a key feature on the website of the Ministry of Trade? We spent just about 400 million Ghana cedis on 1D1F. Spent about 5 billion on NAPCO. You understand? We spent 97 million Ghana, is it dollars?
But they said
on the whole. On the whole.
100,000 jobs.
Where are those jobs? And most importantly, what was how much did NAPCO add to our GDP? We spent $97 million on the whole. 97 million on the whole. And right now we are being told about a lot of corruption matters. I think Ed wanted to even Google the National Service one. How much money are people claimed to have taken? And because of all that, because of our fundamental failure to use all the monies we raised in productive sectors, right now we found ourselves in a situation where 2022, one of the fundamental principles of economics 101, which is the safest place to place your money is in government bonds, was breached. And so one of the key issues this attempt to enter into the domestic bond again raises is, do the people of Ghana, or has Ghana gained the right to ask its citizens to place their monies with them? That's the first question that ought to be asked, and I think is a question that will be answered by the extent to which people will partake in this bond issue. Secondly, and that's the most important thing, what are we going to use these bonds for? Because if we go the same route as His Excellency Leonardo went, as we have done in all the 17 times we've been on the bond market, where we use the monies we raise there for consumption and not for productivity, then if we use those monies for political expediency as against production, then doom will await us.
So this is a caution from you?
Yeah, it's a huge, because you see, for me, I think this government has gotten to a place where we are going to see whether or not the reset agenda they promised was just mere rhetoric as against proper commitment to change the way and manner politics is done in this country. You understand? We've heard about their 24-hour economy. I've come here and I've commended them for institutionalizing same. Now, they should tell us, we need some form of transparency. This bond that they want to issue, what are they going to spend it on? Because like I'm saying, if they are not going to spend it on productive matters, and if they are going to consume same like Nanado did, you understand? If these monies are going to be the subject of the massive corruption, I was surprised my brother here veered into corruption. But I don't blame him. I blame the slow pace in which this government is dealing with the alleged corruption exercised or exhibited by the elsewhere regime.
Slow pace?
Yeah, extremely slow pace. Yeah.
You think they have to fast track?
Yeah, exactly, because that's how...
You're a lawyer.
Yes. As in, when we say the rules of justice grind slowly, it does not mean that, you understand? Slow pace, and that's why people can come here and have the courage. When you see, we can never support source sourcing if it does not follow the law. Because source sourcing, as it stands now, is allowed under the law. And when an issue of
Section 40.
it's allowed under the law. When an issue of source sourcing comes up, your first question is, have the conditions that the law give, you understand, been fulfilled? That's the key issue.
Now we can
you understand? And I'm making my submission. And two, when a government that spent about 99% of its procurement on source sourcing, if they still think that they have the moral authority to talk about 44% source sourcing, when what's called the brother of the president himself or the vice president had 3 sole source contracts granted him at rates which were inflated. You understand? You see, we ought to be serious. And all I'm saying is that this bond, as in
the 7-year bond,
it's a necessity
for the domestic market.
It's a necessity, but this bond will be successful if the funds raised are used for productive ventures. If it's used to boost industrialization, if it's used to boost and agro processing, if it's used to boost export agenda. Secondly, see, when it comes to spending on infrastructure, there's a reason why the PPP Act was passed. You understand?
Yes.
There was a reason why the private-public a partnership act was enacted. My simple advice is that we should find a way of attracting private capital into most of our infrastructural developmental agenda. Because you see, Friday I went around as I traveled all the way to his constituency, to Akosombo.
And you went to Sojamai, Pious constituency?
When I saw the bad state of the roads, how much money did Nanado say, did NPP say they spent during the year of the roads?
2018, 2019.
Yeah, how much money was spent? Because we have had the year of the roads like 2 or 3 times. How much money did they spend? I recall, and I stand to.
What's the point?
Over 40 billion roads. 40 billion was claimed to have been spent on roads. I stand to be corrected in terms of the amount I'm quoting. Yeah, you understand. But if we had year of the roads like 2 or 3 times, then what justification can you have?
3 years.
What justification can you have for the state of our roads now? I use that Kumasi road a lot. It's a death trap. I was going to his constituency. I passed through Dodoa, you understand, and then got to Somenya, and I saw the state of the roads going to Sujaman. You understand? You see, because we run a procurement economy. Because the reason why we sometimes, most of the time, we attempt these procurement agendas is not because we want to solve problems. You understand? It's because they see it as an easy means of getting money in their political pockets. And that's why, even though we've passed the PPP Act, for strange reasons, we read, apart from the Temamoto way, which is being concerned under the PPP, we failed to use. So I advise the current government that, listen, they raise bonds, unless they use it for real productive ventures, they will have a problem. But also, they must also look at alternative source of financing at developmental needs. And one of the key ways of doing that is by resorting a lot of our infrastructure development to the PPP, to private-public partnership. Once we do that, once we use these monies we raise for real productivity, then Roland, I fear to say, but this democracy will be in a comatose state, as we will have citizens who will not trust in the integrity of our so-called leaders. Okay. Do not trust in the credibility of political leadership, and it would portend doom for this country. So yes, I think it's a step in the right direction, but it will only be a step in the right direction if the purpose for this bond is to invest in real productive sectors. That's against how we
7-year bond spent. Domestic.
Thank you very much. I noticed that lawyer has had.
You have only 4 minutes.
When he had 12 minutes.
He didn't have 12 minutes.
I was keeping the time, and I kept reminding you, Roland.
No, you didn't.
Pious,
do you want to keep the time?
The watchers will be the better judges on this matter.
Well. Please go ahead,
I kept reminding you, are we still watching the time? I kept my time, 12 minutes. You're saying I have 4 minutes, no problem.
He didn't
well, I'm saying that the better judges are at home, so there's no problem with that. I don't have a problem with the approach, which is that whenever a matter arises, for instance, like this one,
the 7-year bond,
we should be worried about how we spend the money so that the unfortunate accident that we discussed a moment ago does not repeat itself. And that is why somebody like
Are you
lawyer,
talking about the 7-year bond?
Are you listening to me, Roland? That is why lawyer would argue that if you go and borrow the money and put it into production, he has a problem. Consumption. And you put it into consumption, he has a problem. He prefers that it goes into production. Again, the crux of the argument is that how do we spend our resources in the interest of the people of Ghana? It's not about the bonds. It's about how the bonds are utilized. And in principle, I agree. And that is why when I was addressing the matter earlier on, for me, it was about how do we spend our resources in the better interest of the people of Ghana that we seek to serve. So that if we are complaining that duty bearers are unable to do their work, and I see that money is wasting somewhere else, it is my duty as a wise, patriotic Ghanaian to draw attention to the fact that, look, we are seeing some slippages here. And I pointed to one of gargantuan corruption in my earlier presentation and warned that if we don't plug such gaps, we will continue to go on the bond market, we will continue to go and borrow money, but we will remain where we are.
Pius, do you think?
I don't.
Pius, do you think that the money spent on the National Cathedral is money well spent?
Can you let me make my point? Can you let me make my, for God's sake, can you let me just make
Pius,
my point?
would you say that the money
Can you just let me make my point? I'm discussing, you give the gentleman 40, not one interruption. Can you just let me
Pius,
make my
would you
point?
say that the money spent on the National Cathedral is money well spent?
So, as I was saying,
within the premise of the conversation.
I don't even know what the basis of the comparison is. Okay. If money was spent on something that you have a view about, you can express your view. I don't see the point.
We ain't some who wrote him cause so channel so. Mammy Adam was so jembre. That's an so bad in the Dumbi Edumiania. You'll be saying Asia.